Welcome to the Spirit of a Badass, where we celebrate stories of courage, hope, and resiliency. I'm your host, Alecia Jacobson.
Hello, 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 my badasses. How are we today? Today we're going to talk about health coaching. I'm kind of, I guess, share a little bit, but I don't normally just talk about the programs I offer, but I have recently started with some new clients, and one of them said something that I was like, oh, I need to share this. So I'm gonna talk about it a little bit and what health coaching looks like, kind of how it works, and why it works. So what this client said to me, it was in our first session, and she says to me, well, what has worked for your other clients? And I don't even remember what it was that she was asking, something with nutrition or exercise, because generally that's where we begin. And that is such a loaded question, because while I have, I don't even know how many fucking years, 13, 15 years of working in the gym world or coaching world, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women that I've worked with, every single one of them is completely different. So while I have systems that work, that is part of the problem. Is people think what works for them, oh, that's what I should try. And it doesn't work that way. And that's why the internet is so, that's one of the dangers of the internet, is because you go on Instagram and TikTok and it's like, oh, you have these people posting their food and their workout routines, and they have a six pack or whatever. They seem like in their minute video that they have all the shit figured out, and you have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. They are not you. And you then taking a 1 minute video and applying it to your life and having success. I mean, it's like me going on and seeing fashion advice and then going into my closet and trying to like put it on. And then it's like that, that before and after, the what they look like and then what I look like. It's pretty much the same fucking thing. Like, I don't have a clue how to do that. I would need an actual stylist with me to help me pair everything together. And then I would be like, oh, damn, girl's got her shit like together. But that's not how I roll out there in the world, because that is not a skill I have. And you looking at somebody online and then trying to build a lifestyle around it, like, it doesn't work that way. So when she said, what has worked for other people, it's like, I can give you stories about what has worked for other people, but unless that person is you, it's likely that is not going to work for you. So I think that's just such an important reminder of what you see online is not necessarily going to translate. And that's okay. It shouldn't. Just like, you see all of these makers or, people who are great at their craft. And if that is not something, if you struggle with, adherence to a program or consistency or impulse control, if you have any of these struggles, it's not all of a sudden going to be like, oh, this person said this and you're just like fucking nailing it. Sorry. That's just not the way it works. And then unfortunately you get into a spiral where it's like, then you feel bad and you have shame and you're making a whole story up about it and you're not good enough and yada, 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 all the things, the story that, maybe going through your head. So I told her, I was like, well, that's a great question. However, what works for one person isn't necessarily going to work for you. And she did share, in our first initial conversation, that she does follow a lot of people on social media in the health and wellness industry. And what I told her was, notice how they're making you feel, because if you are following people that make you feel bad, your results are going to be bad. If you're watching them thinking, oh, like, I'll never be like this, or they look so good, I look so bad, and you're comparing yourself and you feel this sort of just ick feeling when you consume certain people, you need to do a detox of that. And you need to either unfollow or snooze or whatever you need to do, because those things are going to directly hinder you from making progress. Even if you think like, oh, they're giving me good information. No, if that good information is making you feel like shit, it is not the information you need. Okay. So do a little social media cleanse. So when I start with somebody, first of all, we have a call and then we have our first session and we look at the totality of your life. I usually start by having, if it is, the health coaching and there is the nutrition component, which majority of the time there is, it's okay, let's track your food just for a week. And tracking can be very helpful because we get a very clear picture of what you're doing, but it's not necessarily something that I encourage long term unless again you are a person that kind of, one, you have to have the time to track because it does take time, and two, the mental kind of ability to do that. Like I'm a person who cannot track my food. It's helpful that I eat usually the same things all the time and I have an awareness of what food works for me, what doesn't work for me. But I can get a little obsessive. And I know this about myself. And every single time that I've been like, you know what, I'm going to start tracking and I'm going to maybe just kind of tighten things up a little bit, I can't, it backfires 100% of the time, 100% of the time. And I know this and I have still fallen in and done it. It's been a long time. But if that's not good for you, now could I do it for a week knowing, okay, I'm doing this for a purpose? Absolutely. So we get a good picture of here's what you eat in a week. And sometimes it's like I say, so what did you, in the next session, it's like, what did you notice? And sometimes it's they had no idea the kinds of things that they were consuming, because food can be so mindless. It can be, making yourself feel better. It can be all of these. It's not just food. And there can be a huge awareness from all of the snacking or having no idea all the snacking, or didn't realize sometimes the fat consumption in food. Like I didn't have any idea how much fat I was consuming. And wow, it's generally very eye-opening how poor a diet can be, how convenience food has kind of taken over. Because if you're busy and rushed and don't like cooking and stressed, overwhelmed, a lot of times that's when the convenience, and when you see it like the big picture and you can actually like look and see the course of 7 days, this is what I consumed, it can be like, holy shit. And then the great thing is we communicate on WhatsApp and they send these screenshots to me so I can see the macros, I can see the nutrients, and I can see, all of your meals throughout the 7 weeks. I get these updates. And most people think, like when I was meeting with her, she doesn't like to cook, like wants it to be easy. And I don't know if you guys know, but hacking food is my superpower because I also hate to cook and want things to be easy. So I excel at this. Like, where is my cape? Because I'm so fucking good. And like, I can look at it and it's like, oh, I see all of the areas. And sometimes it might be a complete overhaul, but we are not going to do a complete overhaul. We start with one area. So if you do this and it's like, you're like, shit, that's the thing. It's like, you feel like you have to climb the whole mountain and you got all your heavy gear. And it's like, this is going to take forever. And if that is the mentality, of course, you're not going to stick with it, because the mentality is I have to do it all right away. And that's not too much. You can't do that. So we just pick one, we tweak just a small little tweak. In a lot of cases, these small little tweaks, they're effortless. They make you feel better right away. Because if you think about, if you're not eating, well, one, a lot of times you're eating so shitty, you don't even know how, like, you don't have an understanding of how bad you feel, and then you start feeling better. The reports of people who have started, because I have people pay attention to fiber and protein. And once they start, one, noticing how much are you actually getting, the energy levels that people report, specifically in the afternoon, is like off the fucking charts. They're like, oh. And it's sort of like this was my feeling after I got divorced. I had no idea how miserable I was. And then afterwards, and after I moved out, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so much lighter. I feel like it was like a huge weight was lifted. And you may have had this if you have left a toxic job, or you were in a relationship that was toxic, or just anything where afterwards you were like, holy shit, that was awful and I didn't even know it. And that is usually what people report, is like, I feel so much better. I felt terrible, but you get used to feeling terrible. And then it's just sort of your norm. But it impacts everything because you don't have the energy to work out. You're getting poor sleep, most likely. Your movement is awful. And it's just a repetitive cycle because when you're exhausted, you don't have the energy to do the thing. So it's just this like on repeat. And we fix that. So it's really fun because I can look at it and I can make it so fucking simple for you. So simple. And it's just a few little tweaks or swaps, or, okay, this week you're going to try this. And usually I only meet with people every other week, but we communicate almost daily. And I'll then add to it a little bit. But I always tell people this, I tell people all the time, every single person I work with, because when you start something, and I know that you know this and you've had this in some area, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm fucking amazing. Like I am nailing this. And then you start feeling like, oh, I should be doing more. And then you're like, okay, they tell me like, I'm ready for more. I'm ready. And I'm like, ooh, here we are. Here we are at the sweet spot of I am ready. And then I look them dead in the face, in the eyes, and I'm like, and you're going to wait another week. You're going to sit on this I'm ready for more feeling a whole ass other week. And guess what happens when they come back to me? They're like, oh, I'm so glad that you made me wait, because it never fails. Something happens. They get sick. Something happens to just create a little bit of turbulence. And if they would have added on, it would have, like the house at like House of Cards or whatever, like it would have crumbled. But because they waited, it's and not long, just give me one more week. It gives you the opportunity to build your habit just a little bit more when it's going well. So when people say this, it's because they're like, I'm nailing this. I'm nailing my nutrition. I'm nailing my exercise. Like, yes, I can add more. Give it one more week. Give it one more week, then add more, because all you're doing is strengthening that muscle, strengthening that habit. You can't go wrong. Like you're still doing it. It's not like you're not doing nothing. But 100% of the time, this is something. So when she said like what works for people, like she doesn't know this yet because we haven't gotten there, but she's going to eventually come to me and say, I'm ready for more. I'm ready to do whatever. And I'm going to say, give it one more week. So that is something that absolutely. So if you're feeling like, oh, I'm going to add something, give it one more week, solidify and like cement, let that habit harden a little bit, then go do it. I guarantee you will be so happy that you did. So when we are meeting, we are constantly tweaking because it's health coaching. Yes. So we work on nutrition and exercise, but your life matters and what's happening in your life matters. Do you have kids? If you do, how many do you have? How old are these kids? What are your financial responsibilities? How much expendable resources do you have? How much time do you have? What is your stress level like at work? What is your stress level like in your house with your family? Do you have a support system? Do you have a community that you can pull from? If not, do we need to create one? Do you like cooking? All of these things matter. What kinds of thoughts do you have about this? What is your past? Okay. I'm very careful to not, I stay in my lane very much on past issues, but we go there a little bit, and that matters. What kind of relationships did you have with food growing up? Was there scarcity? Was there abundance? Did you, anytime something went wrong or was uncomfortable, did your parents give you treats? What was the messaging around it? All of these things matter. And all of these things play into why I can't just give a cookie cutter program or people getting advice on the internet, because it's all different. You may self soothe with food while the other person absolutely doesn't. You may have a really stressful job and not have time to cook nor like to cook, where another person finds cooking to be kind of like therapy and needs to work on other things. So that's why it's so important that we take I work with people for 6 months a year, and we take this time to really get to know you. And sometimes you don't even realize all these things play in. Maybe your kitchen's a fucking mess. And why would you want to be in there? Well, maybe you hate grocery shopping. And so you just get takeout. One of the women I worked with, her job was so stressful. And she realized that that's why she was getting takeout on the way home, because of the things that were happening at work. So even though we're doing health coaching, we are now looking at, okay, your career, your work life is causing you stress, which is causing you to get takeout. So how can we work on the things that are happening at work? How can we reduce your stress there? And maybe it's you are a people pleaser and just take things on because you're afraid to stand up to anybody, or you are mismanaging your time. Maybe you're just letting people put things on your calendar and you're too afraid to block some time so you can fucking breathe or eat lunch or whatever it is. Each person has that in a different way. And these are the reasons where it's like we just follow the like breadcrumb trail. And yes, it's nutrition and exercise, but there is so much that plays a role in how you get your nutrition and how your exercise shows up to you. I mean, there's like the people who want to exercise, but they're not morning people, but they think that they have to exercise in the morning. Let's figure out what works for you. And then we build on that. But I'm not ever like, you know what? You haven't exercised in 10 years. You should do it 5 days a week for an hour because that's going to work. Hell fucking no. How about we start with 2 days at 20 minutes and walk, you know? So this idea that you have of the kind of gold standard of what it means for you to be healthy, which is great. We have to have something to aim for, but you have to fucking take baby steps to get there. You can't just jump all the way to the fucking top. We start small, and I keep you on track. I keep you focused. I give you pep talks. I pick you up when you have fallen. I help redirect your thinking, because we're just programmed to be so fucking negative on ourselves and just dog on yourself. And it really, like, that's not helpful. So I'm there to be a cheerleader. I'm there to be your the bumpers on like the bowling, to keep you in the lane where you need to be and give you a clear path. And that you cannot get, my friends, on the internet because they don't fucking know you. So if this is something, one, just send me a message or something. You can find it on my website. But just even bigger than that, if this is something where you're consuming things and thinking, well, what is working for other people? I should try that. That's where we get into this like fad stuff and the yo-yo and all of these things that we think can be sort of a quick fix, when really what's needed is slow your fucking roll and have like small, sustainable habits. And then when you have nailed it, pause, take another week, and then add on 100%. So even if you're like, oh my gosh, all of this, and you don't reach out to me, take that, because that little nugget right there will save you. I guarantee it. But if you are in a space where you're like, oh, I'm finding myself looking outside me for other people to like, let me try this and let me try this. And you don't stick with anything long enough. So no wonder it's not going to fucking work, right? Give me a jingle. I'll keep you on the path and I'll give you what would work for you, because by being a sounding board and by being a mirror and listening to you and all of the things I have, it works out beautifully and it fucking changes you and you feel so much better because you're doing the things that you want to do. And it doesn't happen in a month, but in 6 months, we can cover a lot of fucking ground. And in a year, I mean, you can feel like, it's so fucking cliche, but literally you can feel like a whole new person. And you can feel like the version of you where if I say like, how do you want to be? What are the things that you want to be doing? Do you want to be hiking? Do you want to be, sleeping better? Do you don't want to feel less bloated? Like all of these things, there are paths to get there. And we get you there. All right. Have a fabulous week. Have a fabulous day. I hope that you are doing well and you are happy and just have goodness in your life. I hope that for you. All right. Bye.
Spirit of a Badass is a Lit Path Studios podcast and is produced by Jamie Gale and Alecia Jacobson. Music by Shane Ivers. We'll be back with another inspiring interview. Until then, keep your spirits high and your energy badass.